In a world where hopium and common sense collide, starring the CryptoKeeper and BlockchainCrusader. Welcome to Debate Crypto. Crypto fam, it's your boys, CryptoKeeper, BlockchainCrusader, and CVO Crypto here for another edition of TA Thursday. Guys, we are super glad to have every single one of you in the house. If it is your first time on the show, we want to welcome you. If it is your 28,000th time returning to the show, we want to welcome you as well. We appreciate all the support, guys. Make sure that you smash the likes. You know what? I'll tell you what. I'm going to ask a little special something tonight. For the people that are in here right now, let's share out the stream. Can we do that? Can we get a few people to share out the stream and let some peoples know that we've got this going on tonight? We would appreciate it. And guys, just as a reminder, all the information for CVO, myself, and Miguel are all underneath the stream and the info. So we appreciate it. Miguel, Paul, how we doing?
What's up? Another good Thursday.
Thanks for
Paul's
having
in
me.
Paul's in the Matrix. You see
I'm
that?
in the Bitcoin Matrix. Yeah,
He is in the Bitcoin Matrix. Yeah, I'm super excited to talk about tonight, man, because we have been. I got to tell you, I have been more confused with. I'm 1 for 3 on leverage trades, right? And we'll get into a little bit of this later, but I could have been and should have been 2 for 3. Let's be real. Okay. Learned a couple lessons, right? But I've been more confused, man, than ever. And so I'm interested to hear your take on this. So I'm looking forward to checking that out tonight. But before we get into that, let's take a look at the markets. Let's take a peek what we got going on over here. So trending, Miguel, this is a big day, bro. Trending. Bitcoin, baby. Bitcoin, baby. When was the last time? Listen, when was the last time we saw Coin Market Cap have trending Bitcoin? It just doesn't happen. So I'm
unfortunately
excited to see that. And then recently added Miguel as your favorite website, OnlyFans. Oh no, that's Lonely Fans. Okay, got it. So Bitcoin's up 2.38%. We got ETH just about flat. Tether holding strong at $1. BNB up about 4.5%. Cardano holding, basically pretty flat. XRP pretty flat. Man, XRP is all the way down.
XRP doing the same thing it's always been doing. Nothing.
Hilarious. So check this out, guys. Just as a little side note, as an aside, if you guys are familiar with Zach Rector, he is big time XRP maxi, right? And Miguel is a big time XRP hater. We've got an actual debate Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Guys, it's going to have a timer on there. We've got the topics written up, or I have the topics written up, and it's going to be popping. So make sure that you guys show up for that. That's this Saturday, 9:00 p.m. Yeah, the rest of the top 10, hey, just sitting pretty still. So let's without further ado, normally I would do a little TA, but I mean, who would I be to be doing TA with freaking Paul on the stream? I'd be like looking like.
I want to see your TA.
A little lost. Listen, just because I've practiced
pleasure.
Here I'm gonna show you real quick. Here's my little love for you right quick here. Let's see what we got.
Show the
here.
Professor what you got, bro.
That's right.
Don't hold back, CVO. Rip him a new one.
Yeah, let me know, bro. So I actually jumped in on this earlier, and actually, Paul, I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are, right? So I had this zoomed out a little bit. It looks like we broke down a little bit. I had a little bull flag that I was working on here, right? Just kind of playing around with the charts a little bit ago, right? Looking at, I'm on the Bitcoin hourly. But correct me, Sensei. They call Miguel and I Sensei. I'm going to ask you. Technically, would this have been a bull flag, and did we break out to the downside of that little tiny, bull flag? Obviously, I can make this look more like a bull flag like that, but I'm asking you, would that be a breakdown of that, or
what time frame is that?
That's on the hourly. So we move out to like the 4 hourly, and let's see what we got going on here. The 4 hourly, we've got, let me So the 4 hourly, it's not quite as bull flaggish.
Yeah.
Can you not do a bull flag on the hourly, Paul? Listen,
No, you can't. I just you only have like one. You know, the thing is, you just need more information. I think. You know, a couple more candles, so to speak. So,
okay. Well, we can go to the 1
just
minute
to kind
chart
of
and
let
see
it
what's
form
going
up,
on.
because just like that 4 hour, right? Like you only have like one candle there essentially. So it may be forming that. Let me see. I'll zoom in a little bit to like if you can't necessarily see a couple of candles at a time, you might want to zoom in. So like on the 15-minute chart, yeah, that could be looked at as a bull flag, I suppose.
Well, it was what I thought was forming there. But hey, actually, what I was going to do for TA guys is the only thing that I really, that I really know that I see right now on Bitcoin, right? And that is, unfortunately, guys, you're about to. We talked about this yesterday. We talked about it. We've talked about this a number of times, and it is. We've got a massive head and shoulders pattern here. Not the greatest drawing there. And now, Paul, I've got you on here, so let me ask you. So now I know you would normally use but the neckline here, right? And then we could measure this, right? And then we would take this over to do a projection, and we would go right over here. And that projection, should this play out, would be about 19.8. Is that did I do that correctly?
Kind of. Yeah.
Massively wrong. AKA,
guys,
that was terrible.
What do you mean? How is it? How is it? Tell me. I want to get better for
it right.
I want to
I'll
get
have to
better.
I'll have to show you on this one. Yeah, this is
okay. You take it over.
Yeah.
I don't want to embarrass myself anymore. I'm
but
learn.
Give it a shot, man. That's all you can do. So first off, I want to point out something on a head and shoulders pattern on Bitcoin, right? So especially on a major time frame, they very rarely play out, right? And for the reason of that is just that everyone and their mother pays attention to Bitcoin. So when you start seeing these super blatantly obvious setups here, they tend to not necessarily play down. So that's kind of what we got going on now. If you're going to look at that, right, that's what everybody's kind of been paying attention to. So technically around here would have been, if you're going to make this out. So you're going to, your neckline was a little higher. Maybe I was looking at it wrong. So you probably were right then, I guess, in that aspect. Just my screen looks a little different. But yeah, and then you would essentially measure it from the head down to the neck, essentially where you go to, we broke out from. And yeah, that would take you down to like 10K or something like that. So
ouch.
Once again, man, like just very rare do these ever play out. And you got this little breakdown here that gets everybody, all the super bears, really excited. Maybe we come back up and we retest that as a bearish retest, which is about 41K or something like that. And then you get head a little bit lower, get everybody really entering some shorts. But a lot of times we'll see, just a little bit more blood, and then it's a pretty good rip to the upside on a lot of those. But whatever, yet to be seen, obviously, with that. But yeah, you're pretty much.
I just want to, just to be clear though, the idea was the measurement that I took and then moved over. I just didn't have the right measure there. But that's ultimately that's how you do that, correct? That's all I really wanted to make sure. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Wanted to.
So that would take us down to that good old target of 12K. So
yeah, same thing happened back in May, right? Massive head and shoulders, same kind of target.
This one was epic though. This was almost like a guarantee. There was like nothing about this one that was going to go down because, I mean, I guess not. You can't ever say never, but this was so large that I think the target was negative. Negative $8,000.
We're going 8K in the tank. Everyone that owns Bitcoin is going to owe money to all the institutions that you that you hold with. Oh, that's too funny. So, Paul, let's get into it, man. First of all, thank you. We are always looking to learn, and guys, I want to throw this out there, right? You don't ever learn without trying, right? We've been with Paul on Thursdays, right? We've been using some of CT2A, which is Jebb's Jebb's educational tool, which has been freaking fantastic, whatever. But we don't learn without actually working through and trying some things and figuring it out, right? So Paul, talk to us about what you see. I don't want to make it too broad here. Talk to us about what you see. Let's just say through this weekend, what we got maybe going on tomorrow, through the weekend. How are you seeing things? What are things looking like?
So I've been implementing a lot of volume and volume and ranges into my strategy over the last basically ever since this top here, right? And the market's been just kind of coming down, and for the reason being that like a lot of, and I see like somebody in the chat is mentioning like you could turn this into a cup and handle.
Well, we can't see your we can't see you right now. You stopped your screen share.
Perfect. That's how I wanted it.
Secret.
We'll look at your beautiful face. I just want to throw out there that we brought you on to look at charts. So
so somebody in the chat just mentioned, I think this is what they're talking about, right? They're saying how this is a possible cup and handle, right? If you're like drawing this ordeal here, I'm assuming
that handle sure freaking broke down a little bit, right?
I mean, it's one of those like British handles, where it's like a it's more like a
British
frying pan handle that comes out of there. But yeah, essentially, like I think everybody's just really forcing a pattern out of this right now, and that's one thing that really happens. I feel like when we get into just elongated trends. And that's one thing I was like, for me, I was like, man, I just got to add some other kind of like, tools into this strategy, because it's like when you get to this level and you get these massive, it's not even really the whole downtrend itself. It's just more so how much of this market is considered boring right now to everybody when we just kind of trend to the side, when we trend to the side, right? And even over here, I mean, realistically, you're just trending.
Range trading, right? I mean,
at the end of the day, it's just really huge ranges along the way, right? And as we're going up, they're fun because when you're at least in these positions of when the market's trending higher, you got the altcoins exploding, right? These downtrends for Bitcoin are not so much fun, especially if you're in the altcoin market, if you're holding, anything at that point. And, especially with these altcoins, at this time as well, because even as Bitcoin just kind of had some small upswings during this time, you're looking at 70% drawdowns overall. You get a 10%, 20% upside one day here and there. You get excited, but you're not willing to sell it because you're down. At that point, when you're down 70%, you're really down like 400% to get back to where you were, give or take. So you're not going to sell out at 20%, thinking you're going to keep holding. Well, then the next day you're back down, and you're back down, and you're back down. So anyways, I added, I partnered up with a new analyst. We've been working pretty hard in the trading group and just kind of adding all these new features, man. And it's just been a real eye opener. It's been really great. So yeah, we've been, I've been messing around with a lot of volume targets and adding in the range. So like essentially to kind of answer your question, I guess, into the weekend or whatever, I don't know what'll necessarily transpire just technically over the weekend here. But in the next few days, this is what I'm looking at, right? So we've got, basically, one thing I want to talk about, which I think that we went over a little bit earlier before the show started, right, is that around this area right here, right in this range, this is when I actually brought in this new analyst. We were going over this on one of our exclusive live streams. He was going over how we could literally have this exact move right here, come up, get this rejection right here, and the target he gave us, it was down here at 33, and then there's one more right here, and then there's pretty much a doomsday level down here at 28K. 28.7, whatever the case may be. And the reason being, though, was not just random, like, okay, it's because it's the support over here or it's the support over here. These are volume targets, right? So there's naked points of control that essentially were untapped. And
pause.
Yep, I already know what you're going to ask. So
volume targets and naked point of control.
So a point of control, right, is basically the most traded area of a range, right? So I'll show you in a simple example of that.
Okay.
I'll give you the entire year of Bitcoin's range all at once, which I think we've already shared here before.
We got to teach the people, you know what I mean? So we appreciate.
All right. So I think that's essentially what we got here. Low, the EQ, point of control, value very high. That's of the downward one. All right. 2 seconds. So for example, this is the range for the whole last year, basically, of Bitcoin, which we can all kind of easily tell we've been in, right? You've just been ranging from 30 to 60K, so on and so forth. However, you got a area here that this is known as the value area. You got a point of control coming in right here, right? So this is the highest level of trading, the highest volume of trading that occurred during this entire time. So of all this up and down movement here, the majority of people were buying and selling at this level.
At 57 or something?
57, yeah, give or take.
Wow. Okay.
So every range, essentially has these moves. I mean, this goes all the way down to dailies, all kinds of things in that aspect. So basically you get, when you come to these point of controls, there's naked points of control too, right? So that's something that basically was never back tested. So they tend to get refilled. So that's about as much that you need to hear with that, basically. Okay. And so going on with this, right? So we had a I tried to have all this organized for you guys.
You're right.
It's somewhere in here.
Smash up the likes, guys. Make sure you guys are subscribed. We appreciate all the support. Just a reminder, we're giving away a full year of Market Cipher to somebody that is in the Academy. So if you want to check out the Academy, the link is down below. And make sure, if you guys are not subscribed, CVO's got YouTube, right? He's got a great YouTube channel, does a lot of analysis over there. And then as well, his TikTok. And oh, you know what? Miguel and CVO, I owe you an apology. I literally copied and pasted from from a stream other than from yours, and I got to put your socials on there. We always put it on, and I didn't today, so I'll put it on there for you.
Messed up, man. Messed up.
I know. Taking advantage of you, not even giving you a reach around. It's ridiculous.
Jesus. All right. So anyways, we came down to this. We had this July naked point of control, right? So that's exactly where we came down to and bounced from so far. Keyword so far, right? So because we're still in this downtrend. So really looking to regain this area right here, about $39,000 to $41,000. And that's not necessarily the end all be all, get out of the woods. But that's just kind of the start to kind of trying to look forward to some upward momentum here. We've also got, just as we got these naked points of control to the downside as targets, right? As soon as we start climbing higher, we've got quite a few of these naked points of control to the upside. So there are a good amount of targets coming in as we start climbing higher based on volume as well. We just got to start making that uptrend. The thing that is just kind of like not concerns at the moment, but it just depends on, how you're looking at the market. But, if we're going to kind of continue to range right here, you're still pretty susceptible to come back down, retest these lows. This second point of control right here, this is a weekly level right below where we already tapped. Pretty possible to come down to that one. That's about $31,000, $32,000. And then if those two don't hold, I'd be looking for this level right here, right? This 28K, 29K. Once again, not saying those have to happen, but there's some pretty key support in these levels, and not just because this was where, the bottom of the summer level was or anything like that. There's some major macro level support right here. This would also pretty much shake out anybody in this market that basically got in. And, if you got in, managed to get a long position here or buy crypto in general or altcoins or whatever the case may be, and ride it all the way up to the top and, not sell and come all the way down to these levels. I really feel that, we start breaking below here, no matter what anybody says. I think that they're going to think we're going to 20K, you're going to 10K, the 13K calls come out. And that would be pretty much where we may see that big turnaround come in. Possibly even something like this, where you just see like a monster, move to the upside here.
Right.
But that's just an idea at the moment. But like I said, everything can change if we start clearing over these levels right here. So to answer the question of, the next couple of days, the weekend, whatever, I think that the options expiry tomorrow it plays a role in the sense of a little bit of tomfoolery, because if we get this move, upwards 42K, 43K, I think everybody's gonna be looking for that $44,000 level. Because of the options expiry, right? That's what you were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know. I wanted the people to know. I don't
okay.
I don't know that everybody knew that.
I'm sure everybody knows about these options expiries at this point. I'm not paying too much mind to them this month. And the only reason is about that is that I've noticed that for these options, right? Like last month they hit to the dollar. And at the same time, that was the end of the quarter. And regardless if it means a difference or anything, like I tend to see just personally that these options have more weight at the end of the quarter than anything. And then what will happen is at the end of the quarter will come, they'll hit on the head. So then the next month, it's so fresh in everybody's mind that the last month it was exactly on the dollar that everybody gets really worked up, can get really worked up around it. Then the first, month of the quarter doesn't hit. The second month of the quarter doesn't hit. By the third month of the quarter, it's forgotten about. But then it hits again. And it's like this vicious cycle I feel like we go through every single time that it gets brought up very, very frequently around that first month after each quarter. So, yeah, we're just pretty much ranging in between this level, man. A little bit of a zoomed in feature here, just kind of zooming into the current range that we're in is pretty much here. So breaking out of this, I mean, you really want to kind of clear through this 38K level pretty much. So start closing some at least 4-hour candles above this, and then you start taking out some of these higher levels. Break below this middle range right here, this 35K, and then you're probably going to come down to this 32K level.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
How are we coming up with these? I think a lot of people that follow us, they love the TA, they love what we're doing here, they love you, and I want to know just a little bit of a technical question. How are we coming up with the size of these range areas, right? Like on some of them, they seem like they're like those two ranges that you have right now look pretty consistent, right? Like both of those look like they're about the same. You got one of them that's what, 32, I can't see because this is 32 to 35. The other one's 35 to almost 38. There's about a $3,000 range right there. How are we coming up with those two, the sheer size of the ranges?
So this is actually one range, technically. This is the range high, this is the range low, and this is just the middle line.
Oh, that's just the midpoint. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
So this is the high, this is the low, and then essentially you kind of weave back and forth between these levels. There's a point of control that comes into play. So that's this gray line right here. So this is that area. And this is actually an old range. This is from last June or July, sometime in the summer.
And that point of control is where that super high, the highest amount of volume traded comes in that range, right?
And that was back in the summer, right? So that's exactly where we are right now. And yeah, I mean, this is just it's the what I just showed earlier, right? With that Bitcoin, you pull the volume for it and you just map it out basically. So you can kind of zone in and hone in. This is stuff that we pretty much teach in the trading group. So if anybody's interested to learn more, we can kind of show it. But yeah, like for this example alone, I'll just leave it at this. But yeah, it's this is the low right here, and this is the high, and this is the median. So essentially, you're gonna basically just range through here until eventually we break, either to the upside or to the downside. And as far as like, this is the one thing I kind of, really wanted to adapt to this style because there's so much money to be made. You were asking me about those leverage trades earlier, right? And then it's like just in this, sheer fashion, right? Where even though it's realistically, you want to be kind of entering at these levels, right? Little stop loss action. So regardless, because at some point this is going to break. But you can even just buying at this level and then just aiming for the middle levels here, right? That's an easy trade. You got your stop loss right there, and you can essentially come and go with these multiple times. There's a lot of traders in the group that have just been Bitcoin alone, and then when the altcoins get cooking again here, we got some really nice setups coming in for these altcoins as well. But yeah,
and are a lot of people. Sorry to show off there. Are a lot of people utilizing, like, do you think it's a smart idea if you are playing around with leverage trading a little bit, trying to get like doing what I'm doing where like you're learning, right? And you're trying to figure it out and everyone has their own strategies or whatever. But do you find that people tend to do better? I think that where I've screwed up is staying in too long, right? I think that I need to sit down, and if I don't have a tight stop or a tight take profit or whatever, if I don't put my take profit or my stop in there, it's too tempting to just sit there and we'll see what happens. I'm nowhere near my stop. I'm nowhere near getting liquidated. We'll let it go. We'll let it go. I almost feel like I need to just say, hey, I'm up 10, even 10% on every boom, 10%, I'm out. 15%, I'm out, and like set that number. And that's where I feel like I have failed. We've talked about it before, but that being in too long combined with the greed. I don't know what else. Am I right? Is it in and out? It needs to be, or for the majority of time, it really is, unless there's just a massive move going on. And even still there's pullbacks.
So, like, you're asking kind of just like, what's the best strategy to
well, just like what's a strategy for a beginner, right? We have a lot of beginners that are learning trading. Besides, you're gonna say don't leverage trade.
Yeah, right. So I just went over this earlier with somebody. Is that, for a beginner, I wouldn't even leverage trade, right? If it like you really have to be somewhat decent at, not even somewhat decent. You have to be good at spot trading first, right? If you're losing money in spot market, then that, but at the same time, it's a totally different beast, because spot, right, like, which is just the traditional trading market,
right?
To gain a decent percentage, you're going to have to look at 5, 10, 20% at least, right? And of whatever you're holding.
Well, let me tell you real quick, CVO, is that like what happens when you have Debate Crypto giving you $20 to use their code to sign up, and all you have to do is deposit $1. It's free money, right? Leverage away with your $20, right? I mean,
leverage away.
I'm sorry, continue.
No, you're good. Honestly, it would just be to if you're gonna start trying to trade leverage, I would say take $100 or two, whatever, some portion of money, and trade it spot wise, and do the same things you would do in leverage with your spot, so that you're not going to lose your ass, and give yourself a 2-3%, 5%, whatever that stop loss to you is. Do that, right, and then just set that stop loss and forget it. And the idea there really is like, then you want to have targets to the, like you said, for a beginner. So essentially that's pretty much it, right? I would just come in, set a stop loss, and let it ride. And if you lose your stop loss, you're out, whatever, $20, $200, depending on how big your portfolio is that you're trying to gauge there. But if you get stuck in, man, I'll flip this screen around, right? We're in a position right now. I just shared that screen again.
Oh, here, I'll pull it.
Like a perfect example, right, is like when every step down of the way of this move here, we're in a different position than we were over here. So over here, this was a time when everybody thought the bear market would, this 20K idea was a lot more, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but like, I just feel that it was a lot more people were heavily going short into this area at the time, I guess, because I feel like there was no thought that we were going higher, right? I feel like there's a lot of hopium and anticipate, and not to say hopium, because I still anticipate this market to go higher too. But I feel like that, with that being said, there's a lot of people that anytime we get still like this, granted, there's been a lot of like shakeouts. So at some point it's like, okay, how much blood is enough, right? But every time we get to these levels, there's so many longs that do kind of come in, even though there's, we stand to hurt more people going short. But anybody coming in and trying to long, I'm just pointing out that if you get on the wrong side of this on a leverage trade, if you came down to 46K, back here, and we're already down from 69,000, how many people thought this was a great entry for just off of price, thinking that we'll go long, even on 5X. So 5X, you got 20%, and that's just on liquidation if you don't have a stop loss at all. So 20%, and you're out, right, on 5X leverage, which I guarantee you not many people use 5X leverage.
Right. That's only about 9K of a move from 46. That's it. You know what I mean?
Right. So we obviously fell through that, and then so anybody that even managed to catch the bottom of this time frame, right, thinking that the bottom of this range, or however you want to look at the major support, blah blah blah. If they went to go long this, because generally you would long at support, right? That's the idea. But this broke to the downside, right? And that was just enough to clear everybody out that took it, even just here. If you longed here, you were definitely out.
Crazy how that works.
Everything above. So then, basically you move it down the road, right? Same thing happened over here. If you managed to long this bottom at the time, 41K, thinking we were, going higher, look at that, 21% to the T. So 5X and up, everybody's out. And that's just like the thing with the, if you get on the wrong side of this with the leverage. So at least if you practice in spot, man, just like do that, because there's going to be trades, man, across the board. There will never not be, right? We're going to have these upward momentums or downward moves, no matter what. Like, there's always going to be something. And even during these, you'll have all these ranges and these honestly, these shorter intraday moves, this is really where, if you're going to be a day trader, like a true and blue day trader, this is money right here, right? See, even if you're just going from this mid level, like I was just saying, right, just from the mid to the high, that's a 6% move. 5X leverage, baby, that's 30%, right? And you could have cleared that 3 times, right? In today, you throw your stop losses on 2%, so technically you're putting up 10% risk to make 30%.
Sure, if I had a crystal ball.
course. But yeah, so like for anybody that's at, for the other question to say, how would you look at it, right? So for example, even where we are right now, I'll give you a perfect example. Actually, this is not a great example because I wouldn't kind of enter at this point because we're in the middle of this range.
Okay.
But say we get next 5 minutes, we're back up to the highs here.
Okay.
Right. At some point, we're going to break this and move back higher, and probably pretty viciously, regardless when we break higher from whatever. Maybe we break lower and we continue these ranges down, but that one break that takes us back up is probably going to be hard and fast, right? So for this reason, right, you're going to want to put I'm going to zoom into this level specifically, and I'll give a perfect little example on what I would do. For this level, right, you're looking at 37, let's call it 38K. I would go to short this. Okay. Perfect example. I would put a stop loss right here, right above this recent little wick. All right. So what is that going to be? That is 2%. Right. So just like I said, you come into these highs, you get the least amount.
I see what you're doing.
Your stop loss comes in high, right? Now on 5x leverage, let's just say you're going to risk 10% of whatever you're trading. So if you got $100, but again, this is a good practice run too, right? Put in $100, risk 10, and run it back. And honestly, you could just target this middle of this range. And that is essentially, right? That middle line is right there, 7%. All right. And you're talking 35% possible win right here, right? And theoretically here, when you're in these ranges specifically, right, you're going to essentially come down to this level. This would be a take profit level. And then you'd let the rest run to possibly the top of the range here.
So the bottom could you theoretically, what you just did was, hey, you went short thinking, hey, there's a very good chance that this could bounce off, right? And if it doesn't, and it busts through, couldn't you have theoretically, couldn't you have a long position open essentially at the same time and be basically thinking that when that does bust through, it's going to really run, have a long position open? Or is that just, or am I defeating the, because I feel like if you have a stop, close enough, you're risking 10% to then be able to, if it does run and you miss it. Am I totally off base there? Or
you could, but then you're kind of setting yourself up to get, if this comes up and wicks out, right? And then you're talking about getting stopped out, and then you're down
on both sides of the deal
right away. So yeah, it's not, if you come into something like this and you manage to get this short, and then you do come back down and actually come down to this level and manage to actually get a long from here, that's something of that nature where you can kind of go play that route. But that gets pretty advanced, man. You got to, because then at some point you're going to be, paying Peter to pay Paul kind of thing, or whatever, robbing Peter to pay Paul type of deal. But that really comes into more play with like bigger moves, right? So like, for example, if you were, shorting from this level, then, you get down to something like this, and now you take a long, and then you still got your short up here, and then you kind of just see which way the tides turn. Because even if you do start coming back up here, you can still close out this short in profit. Now you're at this long in profit, and you let that one run. But once again, that gets pretty.
There's some pretty technical.
Take a lot of emotion. For the beginner stage, I would just say give yourself a 2% buffer, practice around, and start in spot. Honestly, so don't even try to short. Some of those some of the exchanges have the 3x and the 3L tokens, right? So where it's like they're basically 3x leveraged in like a spot market version. I don't know how I guess you can't get liquidated somehow, but you could try that if you want to go that route. But
I haven't checked that out. I have been enjoying now. I've been enjoying getting into trading, right? I have understood trading well enough for a long time, of the amount of time that I've been in to understand and see some patterns, and but the really technical side of it, truly understanding exactly like some of the measures and what to, and there's so many different strategies, right? You're talking about range trading, you're talking about naked points of control, you're talking about things that like I'm always learning, right? These new things. And there's people that just do strictly volume trading, right? There's people that trade off of, just the standard RSI, VWAP, Bollinger Bands, and they have their own little strategies, right? And so I've been enjoying being involved in the shorter time frames because I think it's helping me to kind of see two things. And I think it's helped me see, one, how incredibly difficult it is to trade, right? I'd be lying if I said any different, right? But I also think it's been showing me a little bit better. I've always been a little skeptical on, when I say skeptical, it's not skeptical from a standpoint of like charts don't work. They're like, no. I don't believe that at all. I believe that they're a self-fulfilling prophecy. But what it has showed me a little bit is how often when I look back at either the mistakes that I made or the things that I did right and analyze what happened there, looking back on it, right? It's like, holy mackerel, like a good percentage of the time, like the thing that was supposed to happen happened, right? There's a reason that someone like yourself, someone like Magic Internet Money, right, can do well with enough education. And that's always what we preach: education, education, education. And yes, it's an art form, but there's also a ton of education to get to where that art becomes more of a science. Yeah, dude, I have enjoyed it. Guys, in the chat, appreciate each and every one of you. I think just real quick, sorry, Paul, but Josh Ridgely, I appreciate the love on the super chat. Thank you very much, man. We appreciate the support there. I think it was a super sticker. And then yeah, guys, if you listen, if you are in the chat right now, I was obviously joking, shilling Femex earlier. I wasn't. I mean, actually, we are doing 20 bucks if you sign up and actually deposit anything. It doesn't matter what you deposit, but the link is below. But I was obviously being funny by saying that. But I do want to throw out there, if you are trading, if you're actively trading, whether it's day trading, whether it's intraday, like if you're active in the markets, drop a 1 in the chat. If you're just doing the long-term hodl thing, the thing that I've done for a long time and done very well with, drop a 2 in the chat. I'm really interested to see who is on here that's actively trading. And Miguel did have to drop off, guys. He's got some stuff going on with his daughter, so just wanted to let you know that. So
you know what's crazy, man, is like you can do both, you know, and that's what's so funny. And like you just stated,
which is what I've been doing. Yeah,
it's, you know, even, and it doesn't have to be a ton, man. Take 5%, right? And the thing is that everybody, you know, really rushes to one of two things, right? You jump into either like some risky low caps on spot in attempts to, you know, catch the 100x, you know, straight up overnight, or you're going to jump in leverage, you know, when you see after, and it's generally after a big move, right? So you see somebody somewhere maybe shorted 69K down and made 150x or, you know, whatever on 70x leverage and all this crazy stuff. At the end of the day, man, like trading, it's the emotional side. It's emotional, man. It really is. And even like what I just showed you, right, where you put up 2% and you willing to lose it for the first, like you just said, you did 3 trades so far, you lost 2, right? That's average. That's probably better than average for most people in leverage. And you were doing that basically in a huge downtrend, right? So more than anything, you're probably taking longs, not shorts, correct?
I shorted once and long twice. Yes.
Okay. So, and that's, you know, nothing wrong with that. It's just that when we, especially when you start going down, like I said, so much, the longs come in, kind of, it's weird because most people are shorting. Don't get me wrong.
I caught the long the other morning, and I got to give credit to CryptoFace because CryptoFace was live trading, and I talked to him briefly, real quickly, and I mean, I can't even take credit for it, man. He just literally said, "Hey, this is a really nice setup," and I got in, got out. But in any event,
but that's the key, man, with the leverage. And that's even when I told you that one day, right? Like, not to say it like that, but when we were talking about that Ethereum trade, man, like, you know, we had the setup. It was up, what, 20 or 30% in a couple hours. And then but from there, that was the run from 3,900 to 4,100. And then look where we are now, you know? So it's just, you got to get out, because at any point, man, this stuff can happen. And when you're just holding spot, it's bad enough, but you hold that leverage, you're out. Like, and it's, you know, every step down so far in for Bitcoin has been, and if you're leveraged, it's even better when you're leverage trading altcoins, right? Because now you got exponential downside coming your way. So if a 5% move is an easy 20%. I mean, 20% drops come out of nowhere when you're going 5x. With, you can get 20% drop in normal time, you know, with these altcoins every day. So yeah, it's definitely a skill, man. And you don't want to put your whole account, but if you can practice that, like Magic Internet Money, man, this guy, like, he's a savage trader. I don't think I've ever met another. I'm not, seen nothing, man. Like this dude can tell you what, and his like I'm telling you, man, his like the amount of, but it's taken him years, right? Years, thousands of hours, hundreds of thousands of dollars won and lost, right? Like, just like any of us, right? How many hundreds of thousands have you lost, unrealized or whatever?
Oh yeah.
And it teaches you, at the end of the day. So,
no doubt.
It's epic to see, what just that amount of experience and just education can go. But that's what it takes, no matter who you are, like just anything in life, right? And this is not something that you can just even read about, watch a video on, and you're gonna have to do it, until you get it right and you get that you understand. Because even right now, for a good example, you go long, right? And we were looking at something. We were looking at 42 and 44K. And
the max pain points. Yep.
Right. So when those levels come around and you're long, and you went long, let's just say at 35K, and now you're up, 100% or whatever it is on a leverage trade, you're going to get greedy, right? At that point, because at that level too, the whole market's going to get excited. It's going to erupt and whatever. And then, that's what happens too. It's a big thing to manage. And then, you also have to deal with when you cut that trade at a profit even, and it still continues higher, right? Especially when you're like doing it on a big move, right? If for some reason you took 35 to 36, you took your 30%, and then all of a sudden you get this God candle that runs up to 50K, and you're like, oh, I should have done this. But it's not about that, because that's what your 80% of long-term holds will catch. If Bitcoin's running, the altcoins are going to run. Like you don't have to worry about that stuff. This other stuff, 10%, 20%, 30% of your portfolio that you're willing to, lose basically. But really it's investing, in a trading aspect. But you really want to start off on spot, practice it as you would, like if you were going to leverage trade something, practice it with your spot account, man. And just practice it a long setting. Shorting is weird. Shorting takes a lot of guts, right? And it's going to mess with you, because generally when you need to short is when the market is not feeling like it's going to go short. So, it's a big one emotionally. So
I think, I actually was telling my wife, she was like, because I used to joke around and say, she doesn't truly understand really any of this, but she has heard me enough now talk about short versus long, and she knows at least what that means, right? And she's like, I thought shorting was like, I thought you said like shorting Bitcoin was like a crime. And I used to joke about that, right? Like that's criminal. You can't be doing, don't be talking about it, right? Well, I think for me, what I kind of liked is that leverage or no leverage, what I kind of liked was that I have my long-term HODL portfolio that I know what I'm doing with it, and it's sitting there, right? And so the market's going down, you're like, daggone it, my portfolio's getting is taking a beating, whatever. If I don't get too wild on the leverage, you know what? If the freaking market's going to continue to go down, well, daggone it, I'm going to try to make some money while it happens to then ultimately add. Now, does it always happen like that? No, because ultimately you have so much. And that's what I'm really learning more and more of is like, it needs to be short term, because even if there's a greater move that's, a 10, 12% move, what I'm learning is there's also a couple percent back and forth up, in the process. And if you're over leveraged, all of a sudden that's either going to hit your stop, or you end up getting close to maybe where you're going to get liquidated, or blah. And so what I'm learning is, hey, how do I really take these shorter time frames? And I like what you just said, like, you can't kick yourself for not catching that God candle. It's so easy to look back at a chart and say, hey, we were in a bear market at the start of 2018. It started on, gosh, look at it. It started December 17th of 2017. How can you not? Well, sure, you can see that looking back on it. And it's the same thing with looking at a trade of what I should have done, right? But we can't actively see that while we're in it. So we have to use all the information at hand to say, how can I make the best decision right now, right, for this situation? And I think that the cool part is, you know what? You don't have to swing 100%. You don't actually have to even swing. If you're very consistent, what I'm also starting to kind of figure out is that if I'm consistent with the amount of leverage or lack thereof, right, and I'm consistent with what I'm actually like, and I can keep my my take profits and my targets consistent, well then I just gotta win like half the time, and or maybe on one of those, maybe even 40% of the time, but one of those wins was what was, you know, a little bit larger run. But the reality is, guys, for anybody watching, trading's tough. Like, if anyone tells you any freaking different, if anybody thinks, oh, I'm quitting my job to start day trading, I wish you the best. It's not easy. And I know you guys are probably thinking, well, wait a minute. Like, doesn't he make a couple dollars off of people signing up? Like, why would he say that? Well, I say that because I'm as real as they come, and I'm going to tell you what it is. I don't care about a couple dollars from Femex for you guys signing up. What it is for me is I want you guys to be prepared for the fact I will not sell you on the idea or the hopium of anything other than what I believe to be truth. And I think, Paul, you would agree, man. It's hard. It is not easy. And there's a reason that there is a small percentage of people win consistently actively trading. But the big thing, and this is what we talk about a lot, a large percentage, i.e. everyone on freaking planet Earth, right, that's held for 3 years or more has been winning. And so that's where I think that combination can play in. I don't know. This is kind of my
you know, that's and it just depends, man. You know, like just going back to the, like, everybody always asks me, you know, what you know, when I have a setup on an altcoin, for example, or so, and just in spot, right, not even leverage or something like, and you know, there's major short-term targets I look for, and you can either take profit or just anticipate that we're going to get a pullback there, because you know, some traders are, you know, probably going to take profits at these levels. And you know, and people struggle with the idea because it's a short-term thing. And then if you know, feel that your project is going to be worth more down the road, or sometimes we just blow right past some of these short-term targets as well, or you get a small pullback and whatever. But it's just one of those things, right, where if you're like in this world, and once again, you have to set yourself up right. If you set yourself into some long-term holds and then just use a certain percentage, like I said, to start out with and practice it up, you can literally make your, you know, maybe it's not your entire month of bills worth of money, but if you can, you know, religiously make $50 a week or $100 a week or something, you know, just slowly like kind of goal that up. And that's just take, you know, in and out over the course of a few days. Doesn't have to be the same day. Doesn't have to be a physical day trade, anything like that. But the question becomes, you know, is it worth, you know, jumping in or doing all this stressing out and whatever? And then, you know,
the leverage sweats.
Well, yeah, but even without leverage, right? So, for example, like Solana was $1 last year on January 1st or whatever in 2021. And had you been in and out, maybe, you know, you didn't get back in at certain points. You were waiting for a pullback, never came. And then, you know, had you just sat in Solana the whole year, you'd be up 200, 300x.
Yeah,
you know,
good luck doing that on some leverage, right? I mean, or not, right, lack thereof. Yeah.
But the thing is that you got to think to yourself, like, pretend, you know, that you were sitting in XRP that whole time, you know, thinking that, you know, there's the thing. If you lined up 12, you know, altcoins or whatever in January of 2021, and somebody had to point it out and say, which of these is going to go up 300x, nobody would have known it was going to be Solana and Matic and Phantom and, you know, all these ones that just, you know, ran, man. And it's just like one of those things where if you just weren't in it, you know, you got to pretend like that to yourself. Like, you know, if you made 50, 60%, 80%, you're happy with that on this, you know, percent trade, whatever, you can take that out. And then even if it continues higher, you know, just, you know, the person that wasn't in that trade would have died to have that 60%, you know, if their coin didn't move yet. And there's always a coin that didn't move yet. You know, that's kind of the mentality. I go with that personally, but that's something everybody struggles with, is it's like, you know, I got out too early, or I did this or that. Well, like when you're trading, there is no got out early or late, right? It's just you're just looking to make money. Like this, it's a totally separate game. Yeah.
You did what you did and you learned. So I want to ask you, Paul, well, I guess two things. So first of all, just as a reminder to everybody in the chat, like the one thing that I can tell you, at least for myself, that has worked has been, and I said it the other day, I think in a short video, is patience, PAYTIENCE, right? It does pay to be patient. It just does. I know it sounds freaking like, you know, whatever, like I don't even know the word I'm looking for, cheesy or corny or whatever, but the reality is it pays to be patient, right? Well, I want to ask you this, Paul. Traders are not known a lot of times for being quote unquote patient because of the movement. Although I know there is a lot of patience waiting for setups, waiting for some, and I think this is something where a lot of people, and I've done it, forced a trade, right? Where it's like, man, like and at that point for me, it's gambling, right? I don't see what I need or should or wanted to see, and I'm like, you know what? Man, I'll just get in a little earlier than that happens because well, I guess we'll just see what happens here, right? At that point, I feel like I'm throwing money down on on a hand of blackjack, right? I'm like, hey, let's see if this hits, right? And so I guess two-part question. One, is there do you have any kind of advice on waiting for setups? And my second question is to kind of bring in the night. Do you have anything that you're looking at or that you guys are even looking at right now, or are you just waiting on Bitcoin to make a decision here? What do those two things look like?
This is the thing, right? Is that most people don't know what that means. Like, what is a setup? Like the patience part, like, right, comes from like what are you waiting for? Like, are you waiting for, like, for me, right? Like, I'm waiting for two things, right? One of them is a $42,000 Bitcoin to consider, maybe a short, right? Depending on how things are looking around it, or that 31,000 and that $28,000 region. And those maybe wouldn't be longs with a $28,000 would if we get there, big if, right? But then you got, your spot, picking up spot Bitcoin just in case, because once again, we could just nuke down. Nuketown. But I think that patience is big, but you have to have the strategy. And I don't, no average, person, I think will just have that. You can kind of, look at, especially in a leverage position, that is something where you really want to calculate what you're doing, and you got to figure out how to calculate that, right? So like I was just showing you these ranges, right? That's something that you have to learn that. That's not so, like, even, you were talking earlier, you're not even sure of how I'm pulling those ranges, right? Like that's something that we teach. And that's one strategy. Then it's, you can go off of falling wedges and more of like a break, the initial walk into this is like a breakout trader.
Right.
A lot of times, you're going to look for a pattern that, breaks out and whatever. And then, so I guess it's, and even in that aspect, right, with patterns, that's probably everybody's default. And you have to have the patience for that too. So for example, if you have a falling wedge, which, you could probably dress that area up as one,
right.
As you're down 50, 60% into that, or whatever it is, 50% at the time, while you're in this pattern, for example, you're coming up to the resistance right now, as you see it at the top. And this is just an example, right? So, but in theory, you'd want to wait for the breakout of that resistance line, that top trend line. And if you don't wait for that breakout, you buy prematurely, you are at risk of that to fall back down to the support level. So you buy it you buy it a little prematurely, and then you run the risk of another 10, 20% to the downside, whatever. So yeah, the patience even in that aspect would come in, waiting for that, waiting to see volume come in, waiting to see, if you're looking at the MACD for a bullish cross, or if you're looking at EMA, you got to have a strategy, I guess. There's really, there is no, it's like, hey, I'm waiting on 40.
Waiting on market site for 2 green dots, baby, right here.
Whatever. If that's your strategy, then that's perfect. You know what I mean? Like,
right. It's money flow.
You gotta
let's
have
go.
that strategy, and then it is really about the patience, man. And then the other thing about it is that with the patience comes another good example, right? So say you're in the. Let me flip to my screen real quick.
Yeah. I was just playing around on there. I'm trying to get better at being able to draw and jump in and jump out and move some of the charts around, because ultimately we are talking more and more of that. And I know how to do the long-term stuff. So I'm trying to work on being comfortable with the charts and moving in and out and around with the charts. Continue. Sorry.
I like it. Let me find a good example here. This is just Bitcoin. I guess we could just go off of this. But yeah, so like we were just saying, right? So I'm just going to draw this. I know everybody's kind of looking at this as like a falling wedge or something here. So this is kind of like everybody's, a little go-to at the moment. And for a good example, like when we were back here, so I'll cut this time frame. So we're back here, and you'd probably assume that once we're, this was that Christmas week. All right, this is a really good example. This is Christmas Day. Okay. So this was when we rallied, not crazily, and maybe we did. Maybe it just looked small, but 12 to 15% over the course of a few days. It was from the 20th to the 25th,
26, something like that. Yeah.
So it was a pretty little bullish day. Everybody's getting really excited. We came back up above 52K at that point, right here. Came back above 52. I'll show you another thing here in a second, but we were down 40% already. So, all in all, you're looking at, we could go up, why not? And if you're looking for a break of this channel, even at the time, right, let's just draw it down here. You'd want to see, this breakout. And then if you were to buy this prematurely right here, you like I said, you're running the risk, because essentially this is going to be a downtrend until it does break. So this can go all the way down here. And if this was a falling wedge, this would be, would break to the upside 68% of the time. And that's the thing. It's a probability. It's not a certainty. So it can also go down 32% of the time. But anyways, if you were to buy this prematurely, also you got all this hype coming in, whatever, we're going back to 100K. Then you obviously know where you would be just a few weeks later, right? Exactly. This exact drawing, basically. So that's where the patience comes in, right? And then it's very much a big deal in that aspect. But when, for example, on the offset chance, so say we're down here at 32K, and, you're nervous to buy because we might go lower or whatever, and you don't buy here in general because you want to wait till this. There's another emotion that takes over. Say we do break out of here and you start taking off. Well, you get this breakout level, and, by the time you're deciding or you're, anticipating that this is going to actually continue higher now, you've technically missed out on, let's say, 23%, right? So that's a big emotion that people struggle with too at this point. And this is where that term comes from, that, you don't need to catch the bottom or catch the top. The money is made in the middle. And that's the biggest reason, right? So if we start running it back all the way up to 60K, and you sell out, let's just say 60, and you bought in right there, and that's the reverse of what you should do. But that's the idea of this buying and, selling in the middle, right? That could be a 50% move. If we do, run it back up, you buy in at this level, maybe you take a little hit right here. Essentially, you buy in with like half your position on a breakout trader's mentality. You'd buy in with, a certain amount, and then you would have a certain amount on reserve for this retest that you might not get, right? Retests don't have to happen. And then you have a stop loss basically back in the pattern, so that when it does come back in, if it does, generally that's not a great sign. Can just wake you out and continue on. So, and that's the risk you take in general. But yeah, that's it's like I said, it's super emotional all over the place. And it's a lot easier, like, for me to draw this out and like to, say like, oh yeah, if you would have bought right there, like, how much is this down ever since, right? You would be sitting on negative 30% right now. And, in retrospect, so now you would have not gotten that 30% drop had you been patient, right? But instead, you might miss out on 20% from the exact bottom, but in turn, that's still 33% from where even this level, from the level you would have bought in at, is still 33% higher, what I'm saying, than that 20% was. So that's the stuff that and once again, it takes a strategy, man. It takes some sitting down, takes some planning, but you got to kind of have that. So
and then executing, because I think that's where a lot of times people, miss too. I told people if we close below 40, I was going to be taking some profits. Now, my game planning in terms of the amount of profits that I was going to take, just because of the situation of where we were at with the markets, changed, but I executed on the game plan, right? I ended up taking a lot less profits than I was planning on, just because of some other macro factors hadn't played out the way that I was initially anticipating, but I still executed on that long-term game plan. Miguel, call paper hands, whatever you want to, whatever, but like, that was my plan and I executed, right? And so I want to encourage people too. It's whether you're actively trading, whether you're long-term modeling, the reason that we talk about education so that you can make better decisions is because if you don't have that education and if you don't have a game plan, then you are effectively just going out and gambling, right? I mean, you are. It's not there. It just is. You're tossing money at something, and just, hey, let's scratch off this ticket tonight and see what happens. And I hope that each and every one of you wins when you do scratch off, right? And I'm guilty of it too. I have absolutely done it, right? But I think we're trying to learn, and by having you on Thursdays, so we're trying to learn all these different strategies, different ways to look at things, different, options as it relates to how to trade, and really how to just think a little bit differently. Because I think all too often, people make it look like it's just this easy thing and everybody sees the same thing. And how could you not have done this? And, you just buy the bottom and sell the top. And I mean, gosh, that's what's hard about this, right? Multi-millionaires starting this week. And so, yeah, I just want to give you guys some encouragement that, like, the game planning and the education, it's got to start there, and then we can work on executing those. The chat's been blowing up. Hey, Paul, so the chat wanted to know a little bit ago. Heidi wanted to know, if we're going to be millionaires. I told her yes. I mean, of course, right? We're all going to be millionaires as long as we all start with 999K and add to the position. It's a solid strategy, right? I don't see how it goes wrong. But I wanted to throw out there that we appreciate you. And Paul, this is from Heidi to you, but this is also from me to you, bro. This is a virtual hug. We appreciate you coming on every single Thursday, dude. It is always awesome. And last thing before we close it out tonight, do you have anything at all alts wise that you're just, and again, guys, as always, we're not giving financial advice. We're not saying go out and do. I'm just asking if you have your eye on anything, even if you don't have a particular analysis. Do you have your eye on anything that you're watching or waiting for or looking for a setup? Or
I mean, we've got a lot of things that I'm watching right now, but like it's very contingent on, this is the thing when like we were talking about in the beginning of the show, is that, Bitcoin in these downtrends, I mean, it's violent on the alts. I mean, so it's like it's definitely a time to be, DCAing into certain, coins here or there, but like Quant is a good one. Dot, actually, Polkadot, that's another one that's probably within like a $2 range of where I could see it really like melting down to. So the two of those, there's two other ones I can't remember what it was, but yeah, like there's a couple other I'm kind of mapping out, to kind of, Solana is actually one that I'm kind of worried about in the short term.
Oh, you're worried about Solana in the short term?
Yeah, so I keep seeing people mention Solana in here, so I got to see what's going on with if they got like some news coming out or something. But their chart doesn't look too good at the moment. But yeah, I'd say Quant and Polkadot and maybe Chainlink. Yeah,
just a couple
three of those. Like these are all kind of that higher end coins. VeChain's getting into a position, I think, where where it's in a good spot too.
I need some VeChain love, brother. I got a fat stack of VeChain, and I need my sacks to grow, man. They've effectively,
Oh man, this is a family channel, man. You can't be talking about your sacks.
Got a fat sack of freaking VeChain, baby. Yeah, dude. I am one of the things that I think is also super important to remember is that sometimes the best move and actually one of the biggest moves you can make is no move at all, and literally not paralysis and not analysis paralysis. I'm not saying that. What I'm trying to say is when there is just total uncertainty, when you have someone like Paul who's been in this market for 5+ years. I've been in this market 5+ years. I'm telling you, I literally am more unsure of the markets right now. And I know you're probably thinking like, what content creator is going to tell me he's unsure? Yes, because I'm going to do nothing but be straight with you, right? Paul sounds like he's saying, hey, it's just not really looking beautiful for a setup to put us into a position. We're saying that, guys, just take it for what it's worth, right? You have two people that have seen this and know what these look like and can generally come up with at least some sort of confidence in the market. And it just doesn't sound like a lot. Paul, very last thing, long term, are we going into an extended cycle? Are we going to go back up, or was 69K the top?
Yes, and no.
Yes. Yeah. So, okay. So you think that at some point this year, we're going to have a move pushing us back towards 69 and higher.
Yeah.
Man, I got to tell you, I am looking forward to it because I have basically committed, and this is a news flash for everybody in the chat. After the little bit of profits that I took on some of my portfolio, I have committed that I don't care what this market does at this point. I am holding and buying and holding and buying. Okay, so news flash to everybody, right? I've taken some profits. I took what I wanted to take off the table. It was a small amount and actually smaller than I planned on, but buying and holding, and I'm actually super excited for it. Do you know why, Paul? Because for this whole year, this whole past year, I was trying to ladder profits and really focus on like trying to, take profits at good points. I failed at that multiple times. I hit it a couple times, whatever. But there's always that, intense, like what did it? I honestly, for the very first time, don't know what my portfolio is at right now. Swear to God, don't know. Like obviously I could do some math real quick and figure it out, right?
Yeah.
Start doing some moon math, but like I just don't know exactly what it's at right now, and it feels good. It really does feel good to be where I'm like, you know what? If I wake up tomorrow and we just absolutely totally tanked, well then, the only reason I've been paying attention is for like some of my little leverage trades and stuff like that. It just feels really good to feel like, you know what? If it tanks, cool, I'm gonna capitalize. If it runs, cool, I'm capitalizing. So I don't know. It's a good feeling. Heidi, what are you talking about here? Hold on a second. Trolling Paul channel, yes or no? I'm what does that even mean, Heidi? I'm confused. Paul, are you with what she's throwing out here?
I don't know.
Okay. All right, guys.
She's
well,
the queen of the trolls.
Of
not
trolls.
troll like it, but like the trolling, like fun, poking fun.
Yeah, I know. She's always putting stuff into the DCA fam chat as well. So
Crypto
fam, what?
I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but like just in this too. But what's interesting, man, is that what was that? We talked about this, and the number one thing everybody's feared this whole way down, man, and even not even now, but back in May, back in September. It's always defaulted immediately to this bear market, man. Like, is this the bear market? Is this the bear market? Is this the bear market? And then, going back to what we experienced in 2017, which is cool. Like what the one thing we talked about too was once we cross into January and we're not at an obvious, 100K or, top peak of the market, this or that, we're crossing into uncharted territory, right? So now we're at, it's a wild, wild west. There's no previous data that can kind of correlate at all. Obviously, this cycle is completely different regardless of how it does end. But what we've seen in the past with these altcoins is it's funny because a lot of the ones from 2017, which once again, not to bring up like previous cycle, this or that, but just in general, altcoins that have been around for ever, XRP and Litecoin too specifically, never broke their all-time highs at all.
Right.
Never really broke out of their huge consolidation, like multi-year consolidation ranges. So that's interesting. And then on top of that, we saw 70 to 90% drawdowns in altcoins in the bear market of 2018. I don't know if anybody's been doing the math recently, but we're pretty much there right now on a lot of the like VeChain, for example, is down 85%. And
that's a good point.
I did a list of them yesterday, but it was VeChain. It was actually Quant was one of them too, down 84% or 70%, something of that nature. You got Shiba Inu, which not that that's anything, but that top
from
10,
what would have been if we hit the highs already, we're at some of these points, is what you're saying, or close.
Pretty much, right? So like in that case, so like it's just an interesting thing to point out, regardless. So we're basically at 80 to 90% drawdowns for a lot of these projects already. I'd say 70 to 90, depending on what you are. Like the micro caps are at about 90% drawdowns. I'd say the mid caps are about 80, and then you got the large caps on average, at least fell 60 to 70%, give or take, minus maybe Ethereum didn't fall that hard. And some of the few layer ones that kind of did run pretty well before this, like AVAX and this and that. But man, a lot of these other ones, man, they're down substantially.
Yeah, like Time Wonderland.
But from those highs. So it's an interesting thing to peek at. But But yeah, I see us running back, man. I see us at least running it back to the 69s or 65, just to the top of that range that we were looking at for that previous year. So we'll see how it goes. Do we hit 28, 29K first and really rattle some cages, or that's the question. But it's kind of
what's really interesting from what you just said is that, and I want to, this should be a little encouragement for everybody in the chat. There's a lot of people that are in underwater positions right now. They got in like 70%, I think it was a stat I heard recently of people in crypto right now got in this last year, right? So there's a lot of people that are in some underwater positions. They are at a loss. And what I want to kind of give you guys, so Paul literally just imparted some knowledge on me, some wisdom on me. I've been in long enough now and have continued to buy when things suck, right? Long enough. And I've had those underwater positions that literally, essentially, if we already had the top, which again, Paul doesn't think we have, I'm kind of unsure as to what I really think right now. But if we would have hit the top, right, there's assets like VeChain, for example, that are down 85%. And do you know, I'm like up 5x. I'm up like 500% on an 85% drawdown. And so I'm not saying that to pat my own back. What I'm trying to say is to encourage you guys, if you're in solid projects, if you, again, have invested in projects that long-term, winner chicken dinner, as I like to say, right? That, you got Chainlink, right? VeChain, I believe, is one of them. I think some projects, even like the Graph, like there's some really, obviously like Polkadot and some of the large caps, Cardano, stuff like that. But if you are able to buy, hold, be patient, repeat the process, right? You can be in the exact same position I am, just in a few years, right? It just takes time. And it might not even be a few years. If we go into these smaller cycles, I think that'll be interesting to see. Like, do we have these 20, 30, 40, 50% pullbacks in shorter time frames? And then we have like bigger moves up, down, sideways, left, right, whatever. I think it's going to be really interesting, but I think it's an awesome thing to kind of tell you guys, to give you some encouragement. Like, you won't be underwater forever, assuming that you don't get freaking crazy impatient and you don't buy into a bunch of these crap projects. So just wanted to throw that out there for you guys. Hopefully that's at least a little bit encouraging. Paul, you got anything you want to say to the chat before we bounce out of here, brother?
I've read all your messages, so you guys have some fun in the chat. I appreciate it. So thanks for everybody for coming out. And I look forward to hopefully having some brighter, greener days in the coming future here. But we'll be here regardless. So
that's right, crypto fam. Listen, we will be here regardless, right? I want to throw out there, we never plug this, but check us out on Twitter. We just transferred over actually my personal Twitter to Debate Crypto, but don't get tripped up. It's Debate Crypto OG. Okay, so there's another Debate Crypto, somebody trying to steal our freaking, our shine, right? It's Debate Crypto OG on Twitter. Make sure you guys follow us there. We would appreciate the support on there. Make sure, as soon as I make the the edit, make sure that you follow Paul on all of CVO Crypto's socials, guys. We appreciate each and every one of you. So, guys, if nobody's told you before today, we love each and every one of you. We appreciate all of you. And until next time, hodl.